Patrons, subscribers, fans, followers from around the world, welcome to the IR4 podcast. He's Brian Masterson, I'm Jeremy Alexander Newsom, and today we have my good friend, Mr. Greg Gilbert. We are crushing a discussion on the future of education. We're talking everything from hologram teachers to the Matrix. Yeah. Let's dive in. All right, so Greg, you have three kids, right?
Close. I have two adults and one kid.
Oh, sorry, three children is what I meant to say. And we were talking yesterday about just education, the education system, and you kind of blew my mind with something. I liked it, and I was like, we need to get you on the podcast. So now you're here. We're discussing the future of education. Tell Brian a little bit about what your overall thoughts are, because I know he's going to agree. But what's your take on like the future of our education system, at least here in the States?
Well, I'd hate to use the word ironic, but one of the things that I was talking to with my son, 13 years old, was I told him I do not think that any of his children will graduate from a true school, meaning a brick building of whatever sort with teachers in it. You just don't. I don't see that in the future.
Yeah.
Especially with the way of online education. You went from secondary. Now you're starting to see it to your K through 12 schools, and that kind of made me think. With the way things are going in, I hate to bring this up also, but now you have the mass shooting. So now you have all these parents that are kind of leery about letting their kids do anything. So I think with those ingredients, to me, just kind of points to that. I don't see people sending their children to a physical house to go to school.
I remember, so 2018 is the current year we're in. 2000 and
it is. Good job, bud.
I'm trying to think of when I was in high school, and I'm outdating myself now, but back then that's when we first got on like K-12 Planet, where they had, here's your homework assignments, here's this. But no, I never used it. It was always their traditional daily planner.
Yeah.
But they had that functionality where you can go to a website, log on with your student ID, look at the homework you had and whatnot. And I remember going to college, and the syllabus, the syllabus for each class was online and whatnot. But I can only imagine what the advances are now. I mean, I remember specifically in college, there was pretty much no one with tablets or laptops, but now everyone's on a tablet and laptop in college classes. I'm totally seeing the technology aspect enter the educational space, and I think that's an interesting point. What you're saying, I would rebuttal that and say, what about the communicative aspect of schools and the social interaction, because that's a huge facet in, I think, human development. At least it will be for my kids. I'm going to want them to go and interact and not necessarily get bullied, but learn what it's like to go out there and be a human being inside a communicative field. And I don't think you would get that.
Well, yeah, absolutely not. So there's the pros and the cons to it. So the and I had to use the word ironic for this one specifically, is social media. This is my opinion. Social media has made our children less social.
Yeah,
I would agree. Right?
Absolutely.
I would agree.
So yeah, you do need that social interaction. A lot of I still want the social interaction for my children, because if you don't know how to talk to people, you could be sitting next to, and I've seen kids do this. They're literally sitting next to the person, not talking to them, but they're texting.
That's that's insane. Yeah.
I have seen that. Yeah, I was at a party. Friend of mine's party has a bunch of kids running around, and I say running around. They ran to a table in front of a pool, and 5 of them were just texting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they might be texting each other, they might be playing a game, maybe it's a group game, maybe they're getting some interaction, but they're definitely not speaking.
That's insane. And look at the University of Phoenix. They were really the first to revolutionize this space.
Online
platform. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I mean, that was their marketing pitch. Get your degree from anywhere.
Yep.
And it is. I think I'm interested. How do you see it? Kind of continuing to move in that direction. Is it we get rid of master's degrees, or from going to a physical location? How do we get there? Like, what are the steps?
I can't speak to that specifically, but in my opinion, as you said, so University of Phoenix already took that postgraduate element and they ran with it.
Yeah.
So you never really saw those type of education venues for the lower kids. So when you talk about masters, bachelors, doctors, that stuff is already in place, right? So you really don't need to go to a brick and mortar to get those.
Right.
It was now.
So true.
Yeah. So now, with people, in my opinion, and I'm going to say that a lot, unfortunately, now people are kind of honing in on, do you really need that for the K through 12s? You know, look. So again, there's pros and cons to it. One benefit is it's going to, in my opinion, it's going to level the playing field, right? So you have some communities that have a better school system than others, right?
Sure.
So now, if I'm a concerned parent, and I am absolutely not happy with this education program that's set up for whatever community that I'm in, I now have the opportunity to allow my child to get the same type of education that this person is over here, and then not have to worry about safety, school clothes. I mean, it's so many pros that will come out of it, but with the pros will be the cons of the social interaction. So I no longer have to buy my children school clothes. I no longer have to worry about, again, you guys don't have children, but we know in most houses, I'll speak for mine, come school system, that first 2 weeks to 3 weeks, somebody's coming home with some kind of cold, some kind of and
I forgot about that. You're right.
It happens consistently. It's almost, you can play it like the stock market. You know, not necessarily, but you can definitely see it happening.
There's a trend.
It is a trend. It is a trend. So then you're talking about, you're going to get pushed from some of the from the medical fields or some of the social aspects of it. Is now you're reducing children now having to go to the emergency room or medication or antibiotics. So a lot of those things are going to push that.
Definitely.
So I mean, this direction or this conversation can go in multiple different directions.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we want to focus on the cons or the pros.
Let's talk about both. I mean, okay.
Because I can tangent line down both right now.
You're very good at tangent lining.
And I don't want to do that. I want to stay on focus.
Well, let's go on cons then.
Okay.
Let's go on cons, because I think that's going to be one that's going to be the hardest to really battle for. And the social interaction is going to be a huge one. Let's talk about teachers and their salaries.
Okay.
Right? So
and
you take away brick and mortar, we're taking away tons of staff.
I think but I still think, and I think we've gotten to this point is because of the access of information online. Because back when I was in middle school and whatnot, we went to the library, had a library card, had to check out books, had to write a bibliography.
Never did a library.
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
You were making things
and
up.
I remember the computers in the library, in my hometown library, the computers in my library only had the catalog, and that's it. That was the only program running on the computer. So I had to go in there and go find the book, and then that's how I did my research. But nowadays, everything is online. So I think the access to information has also led to where we're at in this point. But I think you still need some type of personnel there, a human interaction, a human element.
Need some type of structure.
That can, one, put the curriculum together, monitor the students' progress, grade, and give the results as to what they're learning. I mean, those people, I think, are extremely needed, even if we moved offline. So I don't think you get rid of jobs necessarily. I think jobs kind of shift.
They would definitely shift. I mean, if we were doing it online, the lunchroom's gone. So that's
janitorial.
A lot of janitorial's gone. You're going to have some teachers, but what would happen is now we go to economies of scale. So you have 1,000 kids in one online room. How does a teacher keep the attention?
Well, but you're saying these jobs are going away, but think about the jobs that are created too. You're going to need someone monitoring that entire network, or a team of people monitoring that network. Putting in firewalls. Think of the liabilities involved with everything that goes online. All of the students' information. I mean, it can just And
that's today. You still have to input most stuff on. Into computers and things like that. Even no one is really now physically hand grading and keeping paper sheets. To check your students' grades, we just log into it and check the grades.
How long do those records last? Do you know?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. But I think there is some kind of legal duration that they have to be kept.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is.
Well, because just a random question, I'd be really interested to know. Let's say 20 years from now, if a kid could go back and go, I wonder what I did on that second grade test, and all that data is there.
Possibly. I mean, it's easier to archive virtual data as it is to physical data.
For sure. Yeah. I don't think there's enough space in my attic to hold all the
paperwork I did.
Yeah, it was insane.
Just to touch on something that you were saying about the books, And I was telling Jeremy this, like, my son, this past year, 6th grade, 7th grade, didn't have a math book. No math book. No book. Yeah, so how are you, here I am trying to work with him, well, okay, well, this is what you're doing. I see so to get a pamphlet sent home, right?
Yeah.
Paper pamphlet sent home, and this is what you have for the week. These are your problems that you will solve for the week. So where's the math book for us to check this stuff?
Right.
Oh, we don't have a book. I don't believe you.
They don't have
I absolutely don't. I don't believe him. Nah, this isn't true.
You forgot in his locker or something.
So funny.
Call the teacher. No, Mr. Gilbert, we don't give out math books anymore.
So you have to go online?
So to check the work, there's a handy dandy little URL at the bottom, and all your examples are on YouTube.
That's insane.
Wow.
Yes. No book?
Wow.
That's nuts.
Man, that...
Bing.
Well, that's
Oh
interesting.
my goodness, they're moving away from this stuff.
That's interesting too. Another opportunity / like a flip in that perspective, because you know how much people, how many money goes into school books.
Yeah,
We're
They
talking.
costing.
It's funny you guys are mentioning all this. My wife, she has a few different degrees, but she's going back to be a physical therapy assistant, and she's getting an associate's or a bachelor's, or I don't know which degree she's on now, but she just went back to school, and she had to get a parking sticker. She drives an hour away, and I'm like, and she's pregnant. I'm like, why don't you just do it online? But but then we're talking about the books, and she had to purchase books yesterday, and I need the physical book. That's just how, so
That's how you're wired.
that's how she's learned, and I need to be able to write notes in it and highlight and everything. And so, but I do see, with these generations growing, there's not going to be a need for that. Simplicity, efficiency. I mean, why would a teacher want to have to go through a book and earmark pages and write problems down? Remember the overheads with the markers?
Oh,
and then
yeah.
now you could just do everything online.
Yeah.
And now the smart dry
Smart
erase boards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane how the technology has came into the classroom, and I think there's a lot of great advances. But still, I think, it would be important for us to look at other countries or other or cultures' education systems, because are we advancing too quickly? What are the schools like in Southern Africa, or how European schools do it? Because I'm sure there's different elements. But what is the most efficient and what is the ultimate goal? Is to educate our kids, right? That's the ultimate goal.
So, education, you said two main things that kind of perked my ears up. Education and technology, right? So, your parents, grandparents, went to school, right? You think they went and learned in the same fashion that you did?
Hell no.
Differently. No brick and mortar?
My grandparents, as far as a brick and mortar, yes, but I think that they had limited access to information. Again, like, I had the internet in college, so I was able to go online and search for more things that they may have not, because the internet was not around when they were there.
Correct. That's the point. So now, go to your parents. Kind of same structure, a little more knowledge. Now stuff is in more book, a little more knowledge, right? But ultimately, kind of the same things, kind of world history, whatever your core curriculum is.
Right.
Doesn't matter when it was, you kind of follow their core curriculum.
Correct.
But now we have technology that's changing the way that we think, changing the lives, changing the potential opportunities. Can you really teach in the same manner?
No, absolutely not. I think you have to change. You have to change your strategy.
There has to be a change there.
And I think it's important to also, and I feel like there was all these different core subjects, but now it's really spawned into. It's funny because we start fractalizing all the information, and now we can pull all of it. But there's also these, I think, chunks. So you have STEM, the science, technology, and mathematics, and then you have the creative element, the art and the. So I think between the STEM and the creative, there's really two. You can really choose or get to know what you want to do in life at an earlier stage, just by what do you have more fun with, and what do you enjoy more? Because now there's more information that you can start to pursue in one of those two channels versus being very limited to information and getting into college. Like, okay, well, this is really interesting to me, and now you have the talent from the educators. The talent from the educators is, I think, an important factor, which you started talking about earlier, and that's that the people who really know their specific topic and subject area, if they're the best, where are they at? They're at the secondary education levels or college levels, right? But what are you going to do? Because I have aunts who are teachers at third grade levels. So, you know, how can they, or how can people who want to be teachers go study something to put them ahead of the curve so that they're prepared to teach online classes, so if the brick and mortars go away, you know, they're gone.
You're bringing up a good point. You're talking about kind of like the advancements of teachers and their education, which, as you know, Ashley actually mentioned also, if you're talking about advancements of teachers, then we're also going to have to talk about the advancements of kids' education.
Sure.
Meaning there has to be a fast track for the children who are able to learn at a super quick speed. You might have kids going through schools and graduating in 7 years because they just can get information and retain it so quickly. Then you're going to have to change child labor laws because they're just online. They might be 14 and be able to program software.
Dude, I know what you're saying. I mean, let me put you this way. I took a class, because I do have my secondary education license. I took a class called Classroom Motivation, all right?
Okay.
And all I learned in that class was how to motivate my kids to learn.
Okay.
Right?
What did you learn in that? What was the takeaway?
You know, it's...
with some common sense, with some really that you need
some
to
was
know.
really some of the stuff was like, I think for people who really didn't have that gift to teach. But it always came natural to me, and it was always like coming down to their level, understanding them, and it was more of a psychology type class. But you know, I learned how to connect with the kids so they would stay engaged. Right? How am I going to do that with a kid who's at home on a computer,
That's the hard
who has
part.
access to all these video games and all this other stuff
It's
and
gonna be
YouTube
hard.
videos? I mean, you
That's
lose
the
them in
con.
a second.
That's the con.
That's another con.
That's another con. And then you're talking about, you know, the sports in schools. If they're not in the brick and mortar, we could get rid of that, and but we could also increase the amount of sports that they play. So they're at home maybe 2 hours a day, but then you have tons of extracurricular activities, like you're playing football, baseball, soccer, gym. You know, so you go outside, and we remove schools, but we add them into parks or something. Because like I said, the social interaction, that's something that's going to have to be solved, and still being able to keep the attention of kids, because kids can learn. The biggest problem, I think, with our education system is people, especially adults, don't give kids credit for how quickly they can learn.
Sure.
Once you teach a kid something and they got it, boom, on to the next thing.
On to the next.
Like, you don't have to sit there and just, all right, let's go back over it again. No, they don't need that, man. Like, you get it, you're good.
Right. But and it's important to understand, as a teacher, you're you know, no child left behind. You're not you and that's here's a huge point that I'm going to put right here and we're going to talk about in a second. Teaching to the test. Keep that over here.
Okay.
Huge.
Okay.
But what you said, kids can advance, but in a classroom, if you have someone who is way ahead of the curve, but when you look at the spectrum, you can't leave this one behind, right? But how do you accommodate those kids who are moving very quickly? I think when you eliminate the social interaction inside the classroom and kids getting distracted or passing notes or you know whatnot, yeah, that's a pro. But again, the flip side of that, how are you making sure that straggler is caught up to speed? Because I remember getting paired off with kids in class. The weaker learning ones would get paired up with, you know, the strongs who are moving or learning quickly, and that helped everyone together. So I just keep playing devil's advocate in my head with the good and the bad, the good and the bad.
It is wild.
I guess with the advancement of technology, maybe you're able to offer. So again, the testing system is based on, you know, who's actually coming up with the test and what kind of problems are really on this test, who comes up with that. Can't you at this point now fine-tune a curriculum for that child? You know, as opposed to a baseline, one curriculum fits all type of thing.
Great point.
Which has been the...
It's a very good point. And think about all the data that you would have instead of having graded pieces of paper, and you know you have to sift through all these folders and binders. Okay, Johnny did this the past 3 years. All that data is housed online now, so I'm sure you can write algorithms to take all that data, input it, output it where what they're learning at.
Yep.
You know?
That's huge.
Yep. See the strengths and weaknesses, just like that.
And you can go, all right, this is what the strengths of an advanced learner looks like.
Yep.
Take this test and then put them on this track, and think, okay, this person has, like me, a learning deficiency. You know, a learning deficiency simply means I need to be taught something 1,000 times. Like, hold my hand, make me do it, but once I got it, we're good now, forever. I'm good, got it forever. And that child, those group of kids could have the teachers that, you know, interact with them personally, but the fast track kids, put them on the fast track. If you don't need, go. Let's go. No need to hold them back. But that data that would be a huge source of data. I mean, that's a game changer.
And think about how you can tailor-made one kid's curriculum for, you know, the next.
But that's huge, man, because you're so right about that. You're talking about, I mean, a whole generation of kids.
You almost slapped me in the face.
You have this. Everyone's expected to learn one thing, and I think Einstein said if a fish is graded by his ability to climb a tree, kind of thing. And you have children that child might be phenomenal at languages, and they might be incredible at music, and you want them to learn like world history?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah,
this person's not ready for that. Yeah, or algebra. Like, if he's Mozart, let him go be Mozart. He doesn't need to do algebra.
Right.
Let him on that track. Go quickly. Like, because if you can learn that early enough, you put kids in the direction that they need to be. You know, for me, I never needed a lot of the classes I was taught because I knew already the direction I wanted to go.
Think about what that would do to a child's self-esteem.
Oh,
right? If you can gather that information and point them in that direction
early, and keep them on that direction.
Absolutely.
So you have a particular skill of X, Y, Z. You need to go for that. Like, you're good at numbers. Like, no, I'm not. Data says you're phenomenal. And then you tell a kid visually, like, here's all of your data, and you're great at this. Man, huge.
You know, again, traditional old system, grandparent system, right? School. I guess ours would be a generation, so parents, ours, and now current generation, moving into the future, talking about getting rid of brick and mortars. There's always bridges to those gaps, and we're just looking ahead at this next gap, and what are the bridges going to be? Jeremy and I like to discuss business ideas on this podcast sometimes when we're having these conversations, but I would like to know, what is the education department doing now? And are they applying this type of software inside data collection? You know, if everything's online, do they have some type of program that is collecting this data and putting it into algorithms to output, you know, where the child stands on a national scale? Or are they still, if we're still far behind and just using the standardized testing, fill in the bubbles to grade where the kids are and what the national standard is, I feel like that needs some serious overhauling.
So we're picking that up over there. Okay. Does your kid do that? Do they have standardized testing?
They do.
No
they
way.
do.
Proficiency
tests. Yep. And it's still like, why?
Yeah.
You know, kind of.
Yeah.
It's the benchmark for each grade, right? So they're each grade you're testing to see if where they fall on the scale, and it's just a bell curve.
I mean, I do understand the why, so I retract that when I said the why. That was kind of a facetious why. But if it's still that same type of testing that I did, technology has changed. Again, what if this child isn't good at this standardized test? That's not my strength.
Right.
You're not changing any of the core questions or anything like that.
Right. And you said why, and I think the answer is that it should be more efficient. I agree with you. Why the hell are we still on this old system?
Yeah.
Because we have the tools to make it more efficient to collect the data and to export the data and show where the kids need to be and get more specific on the standards as well. Because I remember getting terrible in English. Like, here's your English, and I would test like a 73%, or, you know, he's in the 45th percentile or whatever the hell it was.
You're still bad at English.
Hey, I'm a math guy. I'm a numbers. I'm a whiz with numbers.
But exactly, but if they know that, they go, he doesn't need to read literature. Let's just have him go crank out some calculus. You know, for me, it was the exact opposite.
But is it going to be more beneficial for the child to work on its weaknesses? So
I think not.
When you get into the workforce, you're contributing.
I think not, because with entrepreneurship the way it is now, no one cares about your weaknesses. I care about your strengths. Tom Brady, don't want him to be a kicker. Right? He doesn't need to work on his bench press. He doesn't need to get stronger or faster. He needs to He needs to be able to throw the ball. Because,
interesting point.
It is. That's my perspective. Because my thought is, if you, I'll put it this way: if you can exponentially grow, let's say your kid has metrics, 0 to 100, and your kid is a 50 at science and a 3 at reading. If you just simply double, you know, science from 50 to 100, he's maxed out. You know, exponentially learning. If you double his 3, it becomes a 6.
So you definitely are the type of guy who goes in a gym and just works on biceps and chest. That's all you do.
I didn't say physical strength, because yeah, for sure. I only do my biceps, but to an extent of that strength, though, when you're talking about mentality, the markets reward the specialist, not the generalist. So someone doesn't have to be really decently okay at everything. If you're phenomenal at just one thing, and that one thing is speaking or running. Right? Usain Bolt is really good at running, not swimming, but running. So if you're good at just one thing, you can make tons of money. So for me,
I will never be an advocate to focusing strictly on strengths. I think
that's okay. That's fair.
What's the saying? Our biggest strength is as good as our weakest weakness, or whatever. How's it go?
I guess that's depends on what your weakness is.
It depends on what that's very true. It's very true. So like if your weakness is learning in general, we got to work on that.
Yeah,
right.
You know.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's going to be certain. I think you're right. There's certain things about what is the weakness. You know, because if you have like a general amount of, all right, I can do this. Like let's say your weakness is common sense. We got to work on that. We got to work on common sense. You know?
My biggest weakness growing up was writing and reading, and after doing countless and thousands of emails over the past, hundreds of thousands of emails over the past 10 years, I've become a much better writer.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate the work that has gone into making me a more articulated and better writer. But if I didn't work on it as much as I have, like I haven't picked up a math book. I've studied mathematics on my own leisure time, which sounds weird, but that's the type of nerd I am. But if I still think it's very important to focus on and I always be an advocate for focusing on your weaknesses so that you are on par. I think it's better would you rather have, across all boards, an average base score, or have a lower base score in 2 different fields and higher base score in 2 different fields?
I mean, me personally, I don't want average across the boards. I want to have an excel at one particular thing. But that's just, like I said, that's just me. That's my personality.
And here's a question for you: at what age do you think is appropriate for? And I'll give you, I'll analogize it by coaching, right? So kids in high school who used to be 3-sport athletes are like, I'm playing one sport. I'm focusing on that sport because I think that is my sport. And college coaches don't recruit those kids because, or they may, but not in many instances, because they're still developing as an athletic person. At what point is it okay, like declaring a major? That's why college, you don't declare a major until you are a sophomore or junior. At what point in a adolescent's life can we get more tailored into one specific area? Like, do you think your child, your son who's 13 or 14, is better in math and sciences than he is English and reading?
Absolutely. My son is better in reading and in math than science because he just doesn't like science.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think it's okay, like if he had the option, let's say the education system is a few years ahead of us where we're at now, so we're looking in the future, and he didn't have to take sciences, would you still make him take sciences?
Would I still make him take sciences? Probably, just because of me reliving my past experience.
Yeah.
That, you need that.
Yeah.
But you may not need it.
You may not
need it.
But I'm assuming as a father, what you want to do is equip your children with as many tools as they can to go be successful in life.
Well, obviously.
So,
yeah, without saying.
So, yes, you do. But, again, we had this conversation yesterday. The school system that we're in right now, and you said it, you were a horrible writer. They're not even teaching the children how to write cursive anymore.
Did you know this?
I did not know
Yes.
Yeah, he was telling me this. This is wild.
I was getting on my son. That writing is horrible. I'm sitting here. I go to the teacher store and buy the cursive book and have them writing the cursive and and the Y. They're not even teaching them to write cursive anymore. So I then had to, because they're doing everything on, like you said, they're doing everything on tablets. The only thing that he has to write is in math. But then I told Jeremy they're allowing them to use this photo math application to check their math work.
No shit.
Yeah. So the only thing you really have to learn how to write, not even at all times, are your numbers.
Wildness, yeah, and that's wild.
I think 2 generations from now, these thumbs are going to be gigantically huge.
Work on your strings.
These things are going to be so fast. Video games, everything's...
Yeah.
That's insane. No more cursor.
I found it crazy.
Yeah.
I found it absolutely mind-blowing.
That is mind-blowing.
Not teaching, so you're really not teaching penmanship anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I mean, if we start going like 200 years down the line, we're talking having that you could have the kid have the ability to download all that information into their mind already, right? Uploading it into like a consciousness portal of their mind, and they just go like the Matrix. Remember that?
Yeah.
Where they go, I now know how to fly a helicopter.
That's it.
I mean, to an extent, like we're going to have to learn how to learn. I think that is the most important part of any education system.
I think with the advance of neurosciences, something's going to come along in the next tens of years.
Tens of years, okay.
Where you will be able to have a wearable on your head. If not, I don't think anyone would want to get implanted in their brain, but you'll have something that will be Bluetooth activated, and if they can find a way to symbiotically transfer the electronical impulses into your brain impulses for information, you will be able to do that.
Yeah. I think it's 100 years, but
think about what you can do now.
Yeah.
There's a door that has a keypad, and you can get a little injection, right? And just go up there and it opens the door.
Yeah, some government agencies already do that in Europe. You know, they put them implanted and things
tracking
like that.
systems, all of it.
Absolutely.
That's that biometrics.
And then 200 years from now, people are going to be saying like, "What's the point of school? We can just download any knowledge we want."
Exactly.
And then they're going to have to learn new procedures. There's always going to be something that they're going to have to learn because now once they get all the information they want, they can just download it into their subconscious. What do they do now? You're still going to have those challenges, like
man.
Yeah. Well, if so, you're going to go at when you're looking at the Vulcans. You remember from Star Trek, like they're like the smartest species.
Watched it.
Okay. So
Spock.
Yeah, Spock.
He's a Vulcan.
He's a Vulcan. So fine. Anyway, their intelligence quotients are like 250. Like every single person, like that's the lowest of the race.
Okay.
And you're talking insanely smart, subhuman, human types of people. And just the amount that they know all calculus, all math, every kid knows 400 languages. And that's what they're doing, space exploration, they're curing cancer, they have, peace on earth kind of thing. That's why they did, they're all just very loving, they're not mean, they're all just logical, no emotional. It's really interesting to think about. If you have so much knowledge as a human, what then do you focus on? And that starts changing like your psychology and your philosophy because you know everything now. So now what do you focus on? And that's the stuff that,
that's mind-bending.
I know, it's exciting. It's exciting. It's going to be phenomenal to see how it changes. I do hope it changes because
there's no hope about it. It's
going to change. Yeah. He's 100% right. Like in 1920, the only thing that was different between schools now and then is that you had all ages in the same room. You would have someone from 18 years old to 8 years old in the same room with the same teacher, and they were all there. And my dad went to one of those schools.
Dude, I'm just saying it's becoming more and more tailored. Like the child will have its own curriculum. Mm-hmm. And I see that, and again, that's where we're at in the forefront of this, of bridging to the next generation. Mm-hmm. Is we need the technology aspect to be really more integrated inside the educational system instead of using the old, outdated, standardized testing. Maybe use that, but then input the data into some type of metric where we can. I just feel like that's the next step that needs to be taken. I don't know enough about what the Department of Education is doing to get there, but interesting concepts.
So think about the generations that are going to be having kids now, right? And that's why
I have one due in January.
Right. But I'm even going to stick with my 13-year-old. Now, your child is going to be something different, right? That's going to be a totally new generation, and I can't even... the way things are changing now, again... These children don't even... I used to love going school shopping. You look forward to it.
I loved it.
You're going out in the mall, you see some friends. So you're noticing these these online, you just fill in, putting your information here, and we'll send you clothes.
Oh, yeah.
That's what my son didn't want to do. My son no longer wants to go school shopping.
No way.
No.
Kid and clothes.
Doesn't want to go.
My man.
Doesn't want to go. So if you're thinking, if his generation doesn't even want to go out and buy clothes anymore,
I didn't
their
think about
generation doesn't want to get up and go to school anymore.
Thank
What do
you.
you think is going to happen with their kids? Nah, we ain't going to the mall.
Think-
Again, I remember growing up where it went from plazas. I grew up it wasn't no big malls. They were plazas, right? Inside, outside, open air plazas or flea markets. Then they built these malls. Then they went back to plazas. So again, everything it's changing. It's the secular but not secular. Just looking at the way that they're tailoring, the way that the technology is tailoring our everyday life now. It's no longer going to be one child left behind. It's no school system left behind. These kids aren't going to want to put I don't see, my son is going to have the idea, I don't see any need to have to get up and send my child to this school when everything they need they get right here in my house. Because again, I'm sorry, Jeremy.
No.
Again, the career opportunities are changing. Right? I have to get up and go into this brick and mortar because my job, I have to do that.
Right.
My wife works from home. Right?
Yep.
So our children will most likely probably not go into a brick and mortar place to work. So if I'm not going to a brick and mortar place to work, what sense would it make to send my child to a brick and mortar for school? Everything we need is going to be right here in this screen, and in some cases, your child is going to be a hologram.
Yeah, who the hell knows, man? That's insane.
Hey, Tupac and Biggie are holograms.
The teacher will be sitting probably have our own room that's a classroom in our house. And hey, it's time to go to school. You go in the next room and I shut the door and there's a hologram. That is insane to me.
Whoa.
Thinking that there may be a holographic teacher in a room teaching my kids. It's bizarre.
You brought up a topic that I haven't ever thought about until just now. Kids as consumers, meaning they have needs of themselves. I've never had a kid, so I don't know. But the kids have needs. Like he's talking about, his son wants to go to Stitch Fix or the trunk club.
Yeah, he just doesn't. Which is not excited about school shopping.
Such a fascinating statement. And you were just a moment ago off camera talking about what do the kids want, what's their goals, what's their
what's
thought?
the incentive for them to go to school and get good grades. I know my son or daughter's incentive is going to be they don't want to feel the wrath of their father, and so you get good grades.
What is the incentive though? What's the incentive for kids to go to school? Like, why do they?
Because we tell them.
Because we tell them no.
Right.
Yeah.
Do they have any other reason?
Well, we can't. Again, looking at from the perspective we went through, as you said off camera. We went to school, good grades, post education, higher education, to get a job. That now looks differently because, again, speaking for myself, the things that we strive for with doctor, lawyers, police officer, whatever. That's not these children's goals anymore.
Right. Exactly.
Now let me blow your minds. So this just came to me, and again, I got to thank you for this. Because I don't know what this is going to do for me, for my life, but I love this idea.
Okay.
So the incentive, kids love competition. They love video games. They love building characters.
That's ingrained in every human, I think.
Sure, but they love building characters and profiles. What if what if an educational system was based on a profile for a video game, avatar, and they have to go and learn through a certain environment, and that person now becomes a badass character in this game because of what they've learned in their scores and their tests, and they get to compete on giant social networks.
So you just came up with a whole new video game.
You're talking about creating the matrix for the education system.
Yes.
Just put the education system into this computer program.
Dude, well, yeah, but to the extent of
that's the incentive.
That's the incentive, man, because kids love the competitive nature.
They'll be learning, not even realize that
they're learning, not even knowing they're learning, man.
You're taking everything away from this 3D reality and putting it online.
Yep. Yes. Why wouldn't you?
Oh man. Because why don't you like going out for a hike or a jog or swimming or?
Now your character's just going to do it. Just have your character do the swimming.
He can attest to this more so than you and I can.
Yeah, sure.
Video games. Are the kids just? My buddy was getting. I was out with him. He was getting requests from emails from his son asking for more hours of Xbox.
Yeah,
because you can monitor your kid's Xbox now, I guess.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
The kid played 33 hours worth of Xbox in 5 days. That's almost a full work week.
That's amazing.
On Xbox.
Wow.
So I understand. I understand. There's a time and place for video games.
Sure.
But again, online,
But if they're going to do it anyway, let's just ramp it up. and let's give them what they want, that incentive. They love video games. Feed the fire.
Feed the fire.
Feed the fire.
Then when you eliminate the social interaction, you have things that happened yesterday. Unfortunately, in Jacksonville, the guy who lost a Madden football championship on video games ended up shooting and killing people. Yeah,
he lost.
He lost,
and he just went bananas.
And he started killing people and shot himself.
It's terrible.
I got it.
Okay.
What is your definition? No wrong answer. What is your definition of social interaction?
My definition of social interaction is being amongst peers and learning how to interact with them from a way of noticing who's in need of help and who's not.
Okay.
How to be a better person, how to support, and how to take on that whole community in a classroom or wherever you're at a workplace. Who's struggling, and how can we help each other get to our next goal? And what is that next goal?
Okay, so that's, again, there's no wrong answer, but it's bringing me to a point, and you'll remember me saying this. So, my son plays video games, and I was telling Jeremy, I would go by his room, and come on, man, let's do something. I hate to see you in this room all by yourself not doing nothing. Dad, I'm all right. But what you mean you're all right? I'm all right. I'm not alone. Oh, I forgot to say that. I said, well, you're in here, you're alone. Dad, I'm alone, but I'm not alone. What do you mean you're not alone?
He's in a game room with
his cousin and his friends, and it had to hit me. I'm like, man, if I was playing video games, and in order for me not to be alone, someone had to be next to me with the same the joystick. We were together.
There were controllers with the cord.
The Halo
tournaments. I had to kind of switch my mindset to say, you know what, gracious. Well, he's not alone. He's not physically in the room with the person. But what would be the difference? Only that I could just reach out and touch them. But he's still talking smack, still doing what they do. So I was like, man, you're right. You're not alone. I still can't. I still don't understand.
Well, so that is social interaction.
But that is social interaction.
I mean, that's the thing.
But it's limited, right? It's just limited.
It's not touch. It's not personal interaction. And Japan's having a really big problem with that.
Really?
Yeah, with no personal interaction. They have now guys that will pay to go to dating clubs where they just pay to date someone, even though they know nothing.
Hold on, what?
Yeah, so it's like dating. You pay to go on a date, and you know that nothing's going to happen at the end of this date. It's just going to be like, I want to interact with you personally.
What?
And I'll pay for that. Yep. It's huge right now in Japan.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we're talking like personal interaction.
Maybe we need to do that over here. Start a dating company.
A dating company.
Are you lonely? You want to go on a date? Sure, $100.
Yeah.
Hey, John, we got that tonight.
The crazy part is though, that's not going. That is going to be a future commodity. Dating and personal interaction. It is. And I haven't seen it yet. Ready Player One. Have you seen this?
I wanted to see it.
I haven't seen it yet. I can kind of get a general idea of what it's going to be like, but there's going to be like some future dystopia where the Earth is kind of shitty and there's like a nuclear whatever disaster and it's not going to be that grave a place. No one really wants to go outside anyway. So they're all going to interact on this online matrix type of environment where all their profiles and avatars are living their life, but personally they're not getting anything. But they can feel what's happening inside the game with certain biochemistry and biometric suits. So if I touch you on the game, you're going to feel this being touched, right? And we talked about that with the future of video games.
We did.
Like that, and that's all going to happen, man. The thing is, anything that comes in a movie is at some point probably going to happen when it comes to technology. That's been the trend,
man.
And so the whole social interaction thing, I'm with you, but it's just going to be a different form of social interaction.
Another way,
It's going to be a different form, and having conversations like this 200 years from now will become a commodity, laughable. This is like, we will be seen as presidents. Like, who has that much time to be together in person? And they're gonna. That's never gonna happen. It's gonna be wild.
Man.
Yeah.
See, and this is and Greg, maybe you can attest to this. My mom and dad are old school. Police officer, teacher. I was raised in an old school environment. So I appreciated my upbringing but I went to college. Now, I did play collegiate sports, but the reason I went to college was to play sports. I didn't give a shit about my degree. I didn't care about what profession I did. I just wanted to keep doing this. Yeah. Not until did I start my first company at 23 and really dive into, man, there was so much. I was given the ability to go online and figure out whatever I wanted. So then that's how I got involved with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and blockchain, and just could research anything I wanted. And I learned about all these industries and what interested me, but that didn't happen until 25 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what I was going to ask you.
Well, the internet's amazing, is what you're saying.
The internet's amazing, but I still, as a father, incorporate some old school mentality into my kids because I appreciate it. But at what point, when you walk past your kid's room and he's playing, did you say, or what point will you say that's enough? No, we need to unplug you, so to speak, and you need to go out and shoot some basketballs or whatnot. I mean, is there a threshold as what's too much?
Oh, there absolutely is. So I'd have to say, fortunately, I have a child that's kind of built like me. I have to go outside. It's a must. And he does that. So I never really have to tell him, hey, you need to go outside, because he's a kid that likes to go outside.
Cool.
The downfall to that is there's so many kids in our neighborhood that don't go outside. So I say, man, you ready to go outside? He's like, I wanted to, but Donnie don't want to come out. Jeremy don't want to come out. Jordan doesn't want to come out. Wow, so he wants to go out.
Oh my
But he has the kids in the neighborhood.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I did not even think about that.
When we purchased in this neighborhood, my oldest son was maybe 15 and our daughter was 13. Long story short, the reason why we looked at neighborhoods was I need to see kids running around the neighborhood.
Yeah. My wife and I feel the same way.
I need to see kids. And when we when we got to our neighborhood where we're at now, that's all we saw was kids everywhere. Loved it. First son went there, grew up with a whole bunch of friends, played outside, did the whole nine. Daughter, okay, she's a girl. Girls don't really play much outside, but she was good. My younger son now, not thinking, all of those other kids moved away. You know, he really only has the children that were there when he was growing up, and that number decreased because other people started moving away. So the children that are there don't necessarily come out. Now, every once in a while, you will get them out, and you'll see them put up the basketball court and they'll play. But on a normal basis, not so much. But again,
once a week?
To answer your question, not even once a week is sad. But to answer your question, there has to be that time that you pull him out and say, hey, you
there's too much of anything.
Yeah, but fortunately, he's good enough that he can kind of sense when I'm about to say,
that's important.
And
that's
then
cool.
he knows to,
There's too much of anything, like work. We have to get pulled, me and you have to get pulled away from work, don't we? Yeah. I mean, it's not massively different than a kid's video game. That's all I'm saying. I mean, dude, actually it reminds me to eat and drink daily.
Everything is very important to take in with moderation. And I think that's going to be another key as to what we're talking about, bridging these gaps. And, if we everyone gets plugged into the matrix or the virtual reality, I mean, I'm not a fan. I think it's going to be fascinating. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be the next advancement in human evolution, but need to do it carefully.
Yeah.
Need to monitor it.
Yeah.
And remember where we came from, too, I mean, because then we don't have anything to grade as to where we're at now. If we didn't remember what the old times were like, how can we appreciate how much it is to have a computer in our pocket?
Yeah.
I mean...
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Dude, phenomenal chat.
Yeah.
Awesome. Man, way to fire us up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that was a great one.
No, it was.
Hope you all enjoyed it. To all the fans and followers, those cerebral pyromaniacs out there, you are amazing. We'll see you next time. And until then, love, live, learn. We'll catch you later.